Okay, so today we're going to be going over a simple program and two different ways to write the functions. This program was coded in Java, but it should be pretty similar in other languages. So I wrote two methods to basically set a category based on a name and determine if a name is valid. So I'm going to run the program now with Java. And then, so this is the name part. So I'm going to write in John. John. So it says, hello, John. Your category is 2. So it's basically kind of like a line system with 5 different lines, A to E, F to J, etc. You'll see more of that in the code, but we'll run it again, and we can do like capital John, so it doesn't really matter whether you do uppercase or lowercase. But if you do something like 0, W, names don't have numbers, it'll say invalid name. So let's get into the code. I have it open right here. So we start off with a scanner. That's just how we get user input. Say enter name. Then we set the string value of name to equal the scanner next line. So it grabs the name entered as soon as you hit the enter key. Then we check if the name is valid. So that's our valid name function. Then we print invalid if it's invalid. Else we do hello name, and then it prints out your category with the name category function. Going through the name category function, it's a string function. So it takes your name, then we convert the name to lowercase and get the first character to determine which category you're in. Or you could do it for like line if you're trying to separate people into lines. So line 1 is A to E, line 2 is F to J, line 3 is K to O, line 4 is P to T, and line 5 is U to Z. So this is just English names with English alphabetical characters. And then it prints out your category by setting the category variable. Then we also have valid name. And if we look at valid name, it takes the name. And then we check if it matches a pattern, which is just A to Z, and we convert the name to lowercase. And if it is valid, then we set the valid name to true. Or else we set the valid name to false, and we return valid name. So let's split. Okay, split it on the other side. And we'll get rid of that. So the concept that I'm going with is just using returns in inline instead of actually using variables. So if we start up with the main function, we actually get rid of this if else. So we actually, as soon as we find out the name is invalid, we just do a return. This way we don't need an else, because else, if the name is valid, we'll actually continue with these two lines. Moving down to the name category function, you take the name, and we get the first lowercase, still the same, but instead we're going to return on all the if statements instead of setting a variable and returning later. And so we go with, by default, it's going to be invalid if it's not any of these 5 categories. So you can kind of use that mindset when you're designing functions to just make the return a default value instead of setting a variable. This way, if the function isn't going to continue doing anything after a certain point, you can just actually break out of the function and return whatever you want. So in this case, I just want to return category 1. I don't need to go through all the other code. So moving on to the valid name, we did the same thing. We did return true. So in this case, it's a return true. It's all lowercase characters, 1 or more. So that's what that regular expression is. Then else it's 1 uppercase character and multiple lowercase characters, which is another case of true. So this is using the concept where the default will be false if we don't go through the trues. So with Booleans, you can usually do both, which is why I also have valid name2. So valid name2 basically has the default true and the check on a false. Now I just demonstrated by separating it out, but we can actually make that regular expression more efficient. We can specify that by having a capital A to Z once, and then having a bunch of lowercase characters. And if it's not that pattern, it's false. So I had to add the not there. Now if we look onto the other side, I actually converted the whole thing to lowercase before doing that, but this way we don't have to actually convert all the characters to lowercase. We can just match the pattern. So it's might be a little bit more efficient. Okay, thanks for watching.